Hello. Happy Sunday. Welcome into this week's edition of The Walkthrough. I'm your host, Intern Joe Macheca. Sunday night, as always, so we are back at it. South Carolina baseball had a rough weekend over there at Founders Park. We will get into that, all the specifics of all of that. Also, some visitors on campus for South Carolina basketball, a visitor on campus for South Carolina basketball. And so certainly we'll get to that as well. And then there's certainly some names transfer portal that are going to be cooking too. Drew Tuizama departed this past week, so again, it will be interesting. We will get to all of it, of course, as we always do on this so appreciate everyone joining me as people start to file in. But I will start with baseball here on this Sunday evening. Again, South Carolina gets swept by Georgia in not so great fashion. You drop all three games. Obviously, Friday, you were down for a bulk of that one, and then you got into it a little bit, started to bring it back, but just simply wasn't enough on Friday or Thursday, excuse me. Yeah, they really moved games up this weekend. I forgot about that because of Mother's Day, and also, yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching, and to my own mother as well. So I appreciate all of the moms out there helping us along the way. Appreciate it for those of you that are watching tonight's show. So spending your time with me on Mother's Day, I love to hear that. And certainly I'll get you caught up on all of all things South Carolina here. Of course, as we always do. But again, South Carolina baseball dropping 3 games this weekend to Georgia. Fall on Thursday night. Again, by a score of 14-10. We'll start there. We'll start with Thursday nights and just kind of talk about what this means for the rest of Carolina baseball and what this means for them heading into next weekend as well. So, yeah, if you fall on Thursday night, not the best game in the world from your pitching staff, right? Roman Kimball doesn't even make it out of the first inning. Tough night for him. Ty Good comes in, allows, a couple runs here, there, 3 more runs in the second. This Georgia offense is just ridiculous, too. I mean, it's ridiculous. They hit 5 home runs and 7 runs in the first 2 innings on Thursday. That's ridiculous. Charlie Condon continued his run. Jason Height, appreciate you joining us tonight. Georgia owns us. Yeah, right now it's not fun in this rivalry, and I we can even bring up the question. We can talk some rivalries here too, because we do need. It is the off season, and there's some fun things to talk about. But yeah, right now Georgia is just owning the South Carolina rivalry. I don't even know if you can even call it one at this point, because I think the last domino to fall was baseball. And obviously basketball, they're down, sure, but I think baseball was a different element of the rivalry, and yeah, they're owning us recently, and they're going to be a scary team. That's what I expected South Carolina's bats to kind of look like, or what you wanted them to look like going into Tennessee, but it obviously was not the case. Georgia, I mean, they brought the dogs this weekend, man. They really brought the dogs. The dogs. If we're talking about Georgia, you have to talk about the dogs. But yes, it's ridiculous because again, Georgia, what they're doing offensively is pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive what this Georgia offense is able to do. I mean, tallying up all the runs here real quick. I mean, they scored 14 in the game on Thursday, right? So you got that as I'm pulling up the schedule behind me. Looking at the schedule here, 14 runs in the first game, and then you exploded for. Let's see, keep going. There we go. Okay, yeah. So 14, right, and then you allow 11 runs to the dogs. In the second game, you lose 11-5, and then 14 more runs on Saturday. I mean, this pitching staff is right now. That is essentially the problem right now. That's what's going down. This pitching staff has not been good. I mean, it's been good at spots this season, right? Eli Jones has been your most consistent starter, and I mean, he also had a bad weekend. But you just haven't had those 2 or 3 guys that just will step up and dominate, like we've seen in years past for South Carolina. There is no real ace on this staff. It's hard to see, hard to watch, right? When you just cannot get any support from your pitching staff. And then, I mean, your bullpen's been great this season, but against a team like Georgia will, you know, or at the rate that they were hitting at, that team will chew you up and spit you out real quick. And that's kind of what they did this weekend. Like it was they showed that South Carolina's bullpen was not ready for a quality opponent, and the starters weren't either. Right? I mean, you needed any semblance of length against these guys, and you didn't get it really from anybody. I think out of anybody that pitched, it's going to be hard to boil down because everyone scored runs, right? Georgia was scoring runs all weekend, but I mean, it's going to be hard to boil this thing down. So, just as a whole, this series was just wonky, a little wonky, just not exactly what you want for South Carolina baseball at this point, right? Because you're trying to get hot in May, and Georgia came in here and South Carolina took 2 out of 3. I think it'd be a completely different story. But to get swept, and especially in the fashion that you did, where Georgia just kept pouring on runs and runs and runs and runs and runs and runs, it's going to get ugly. So you've got a lot of things to figure out right now if you're South Carolina. Is it coaching? Is it internal, right? Are the guys not stepping up? Are they not performing to kind of the standard that they believe, or what? I don't know what's going on right now. And I know Alex brings it up. Can we please get rid of Kingston? He is turning into the Frank Martin of baseball. A couple highs, mostly lows, all mediocrity. Yeah, and I knew this was going to come up tonight, right? So, and a lot of fans I'm starting to see it a little bit more and more. It's like fire Kingston, fire Kingston, fire Kingston. Yeah, and I think at this point, right, you're starting to have the levee, the dam, if you will. And the way that I see, at least this coach firing, right, especially with South Carolina baseball, you've got a dam, and that is, Coach Kingston, right? His job, it's all solidified, all that stuff. But when the rains come and the bad weather and all that kind of stuff and bad stuff, the dam fills up, right? And eventually the dam's going to break. And so you're getting to the point where it's starting to get real full, and there's very few fingers to blame, right? And so, do I think Kingston should be fired yet? No, I don't. I think there will be serious conversations about it. Yes, because again, you're running out of excuses at this point, right? And it's hard because you can only say the starting pitching needs to be better. Yeah, and eventually in college athletics, how it always does is it eventually leads to the coach's firing. Excuses run out, right? And there's less things that you're able to fix. And the same problems keep recurring and keep recurring and keep recurring. And that's where you have to pull the plug and find somebody new. Now, in terms of who else is out there or anything like that, like it's going to be tough, right? To fire Coach Kingston right now, I don't know who all you go get. And that's something I keep, saying. And I'm not necessarily on the fire Kingston boat, and I'm not necessarily off of the fire Kingston boat. I'm still right in the middle. And as an objective member of the media, I've got, I don't necessarily see it as quite one way or the other quite yet. Now, I do think it's building, right? And the case is certainly building, right? Like I said, you're starting to run out of, excuses and things that you can point to that said, hey, we got to get better in this. And then, well, if it doesn't get better, then whose fault is that, right? So I think it's adding up, right? But so the question that I keep posing for the Fire Kingston folks is, who are you going to go get, right? Who are you going to go get? Because right now, I mean, every big college baseball coach is kind of locked up right now. I really don't. I mean, Chad Holbrook, right? I've heard that name thrown around, but I don't know if you want to do that again because, right now you're still kind of in a position to host a super regional, right? I still think this baseball team is in the position now. Again, for South Carolina baseball standards, it's the same thing every year, right? I mean, this is nothing compared to where you should be, and I agree. I think I agree with the take that's like, I think you should be on a higher level because you are South Carolina baseball and all the history that you've had. I mean, I think, you have a very good chance of being, one of the premier baseball programs, if not the premier baseball programs in the SEC, right? And Burley says maybe they'll win the NCAA and shut everyone up. Yeah. And at this point, Burley, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but winning the NCAA tournament would essentially be one of the only things to kind of shut everyone up. I still think if Kingston makes it to Omaha, I think maybe there might be the doubters would quiet down. But if you get swept in Omaha, then again, they're going to come right back out of the woodwork. So I don't know. Who knows? And again, this is baseball too. We've seen these teams get hot and stuff like that. Now, again, traditionally, South Carolina does the same thing every year, right? Where right when you're supposed to get hot, you catch a better team and it just throws the mojo off. Now, your task this weekend is not it's not a fun one. You have to go up to Knoxville to play the number one ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Now, Tennessee baseball is really, 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 really good this year. They're really good. Obviously, the number one ranked team in the country for a reason, right? I mean, really, really good team up there in Knox. So I need to take. But so they Tennessee, looking back on them right now, right? They also have a midweek against Belmont too. South Carolina does not have a midweek. Their schedule. They just tangled with Vandy too as well. The Tennessee little Tennessee clash there. So yeah, Tennessee's baseball schedule. It's good. And okay, so we also Burley chiming in. Yeah, I know, right? It feels like that's where they would kind of have to go is all the way. Jason says give Kingston 2 more years. Yeah, I mean that's kind of a reasonable timetable, right? I think you're getting to the point where recruits have kind of made their way through and all of that stuff, and developing players. Sure, it's coming. I think that's kind of the most realistic timetable. But again, I think it's starting to run out of excuses, and I think the Fire Kingston people. At first, it was kind of I would assume a joke, right? Maybe some people were kidding, but way at the beginning of the year and even last year, the Fire Kingston, the gut reflex, it's just not good. It's not good for the health of the program. But again, now they're starting to have some concrete behind it. So, I mean, we'll see. I think they're not. I wouldn't never say never in terms of something happening this offseason. Again, there's still a lot of baseball to be played, especially you've got the SEC tournament, you've got some type of postseason baseball ahead of you. I would think, unless you get swept. No, I mean, I don't think they're still playing for a super regional, in my opinion. But again, it needs to be something special at Tennessee. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, so Tennessee just beat Vanderbilt 8-4, 7-6, and then lost the season finale. And then they've got Belmont on the midweek, and then the 3 games with South Carolina before they go to Hoover. So this team's really, really, really good. Obviously, the number one ranked team in the country. They beat Kentucky, as South Carolina did. But they beat Kentucky 9-4, 13-11, but they dropped the first one. Another good beat. They've beaten LSU, swept LSU a couple weekends ago. That's another big one. But yes, Jason calling for Ray Tanner's job right now. We need a new AD. Interesting take. I'm certainly not calling one of the guys calling for Coach Tanner's job yet or anything like that. I think Coach Tanner's done. I mean, you look at the hire with Coach Beamer, and again, that's still really, really early, but hit a home run hire with Coach Paris. Obviously, extending Dawn is one of the better decisions. Coach Tanner certainly is not on the hot seat by any means, Jason. But yeah, no, Alex, I agree. Tanner's done okay, except holding on to coaches for too long. Yeah, exactly. And so, and to Alex's point too, we're getting there, right, with Kingston. If this trend kind of continues and it's still again like Alex said, little mediocrity, I think they're going to go in a different direction. And I know like this past weekend did not sit well with anybody inside that program. I know for a fact it did not, Ray Tanner included. So I mean, there's some things happening inside that building, whether it be are we going to start talking about firing Kingston, or is there going to be conversations had? And I'm sure there have been conversations had at many points throughout the past about this. But again, I think this weekend series will be that's a give me a holding on. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's a give me holding on to Staley. But I think LP Lamont has been a good one. It's still early, but still, we'll see. But I kind of agree with Alex. Holding on to coaches for too long is tending to be, or I mean, Coach Tanner certainly doesn't need that to be, the recipe. But I certainly don't see it. Coach Tanner's done a fine job so far. And that's my take. Jason, I hate to say it, but you got to pump the brakes with that one. But so again, this baseball team, right? Where do you go from here, right? Alex says Kingston can't be consistent. We lost our pitching coach Parker to a different SEC team. That should not happen in baseball. Period. Here, yeah, I know that's one thing. I guess would be another thing. But I don't know. I think the Parker thing, it stings, and right. I think the development certainly has taken a step back this year, but it's still early for me to make a call on that one. Obviously, you're missing Coach Parker, sure. And it stings that he had to go to another SEC team, and you look at what the other SEC team's doing, and so I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Kingston, again, there needs to be some sense of consistency other than, up and down, right? You want to find it. And, if that's a managerial thing, which again, it's signs are pointing towards it, but it's yet to be, perfectly, laid out for us yet, then they'll fire Kingston. But again, I think it's a little too early for that. But this series left a bad taste in their mouth. So we'll see. I mean, this team, right? I talk about this team. We've talked about this team all year. This team's like they listen to like everything that everyone says. As soon as the world starts to doubt this team, they turn it on, right? And whenever there happens to be hopes and dreams of consistency and like, oh yeah, we should win this one, right, guys? And then it's like, they just can't seem to put it together. And I don't know, that's baseball sometimes. And again, Georgia was no joke, right? Georgia's one of the best offensive teams in the country. And the way that they played this weekend, they are the best offensive team in the country. Like it's not close. So I think you ran into a red hot Georgia team that again can really pimp some baseballs, and when your bullpen and your pitching is not your strongest your strongest suit, obviously you're going to run into some matchup problems like that. That happens. That's baseball again. But I think this is a big deal. Not necessarily. I think they can wipe it, but you have to go into Tennessee and make magic, some kind of magic at Tennessee. Make something happen against the number one team in the country, right? If you can find a way to win that series, I think you will win a lot of people back. But as of now, I mean, the way that this team is playing, the way that this team is pitching, it's not great. It's not great. It's not, it's not going to get you very far in the playoffs in Birmingham and Hoover, excuse me. And it's not going to get you very far at all in the postseason as a baseball program, right? So if you're trying to reestablish, the dominance and stuff like that, like it's not going to happen through ups and downs and getting swept by Georgia at home, nonetheless. And I will say this: a couple weeks ago, I forget who it was. One of the viewers brought up that the atmosphere hadn't been as good as it has been previously, and I shrugged it off. I'm like, nah, like I don't think so yet. I was at a couple of games, yeah, like I don't think so, but started to grow. Next week, they were in here. It's like the atmosphere at Founders Park wasn't as good as it should have been, and it's like, nah, yeah, I think. And I started to grow on me, and I started to take notice of the fact that the atmosphere at Founders Park wasn't great, right? This weekend, I was very disappointed with the atmosphere there at Founders Park. Again, it's Georgia, right? It was supposed to be one of the bigger series of the year. I don't know where the divide is. I don't know what is gone in one of the best fan bases in college baseball, right? And I think I don't know why that happened the way it did, but it did. Alex says, when is the last time South Carolina finished top four in the league? Not since Kingston got here. Yeah, but this league, Alex, this league is loaded. I mean, it's ridiculous, especially with the transfer portal nowadays. I mean, Georgia kind of came out. Where was Georgia last year, right? Georgia was like almost non-existent. I mean, it's so I think success in this league is certainly again, it should be part of the job, right? It is part of the job that you take on, right, to have success in the SEC. It goes with any coach here, right? So I think it's one of those things that like you just it's really hard to make it in the top four. And now, Alex, and to your point, I'm sure like you're just saying just once would be nice, and yes, absolutely, of course it would be, right? So I think just being top four in the SEC, and you might have. I have to look back. I'm not as good as Colin Taylor. I wish I had the numbers like that and could go back and look real quick, but like again, I do not think that they're yeah. So they haven't been in the top four since Kingston's been here. So again, I certainly hear it. I think, and again, I use the dam analogy because and I'm played sports. Obviously, coaches love analogies, stuff like that. The water's filling up, man, on the other side of the dam, and eventually they're going to be out of excuses, out of dry days, out of good days where happy days, sunny days where the water all dries up and everyone kind of forgets about the dam breaking and how the weak spots. So um, Philip says the crowd was ready to go when I was there on Thursday. Hard to get rowdy when the other team starts crushing. Yeah, no, I agree, and I did see the crowd. Like it was filled out on Thursday, and this weekend was certainly a hard series to judge it. To be fair, too, as well, Philip. But for getting there as well, because certainly needed it. But I get it also too as the weekend kind of dissipated, but it just to me it just hasn't had the same fans in college baseball feel, right? Because I think South Carolina is a special place, Founders Park is a special place, and it's large part because of the atmosphere. And it's I'm not saying the heckling and all that stuff because that's not really part of it, right? It is the family atmosphere. It's bringing your family to a ball game, and being able to just talk to somebody next to you, right? Carolina fan next to you or whatever. It's and welcoming other teams and stuff like that. It's what makes this place the best place in college baseball, arguably. And now I know Mississippi State's got a sweet setup over there too, but I think Founders Park is a special one, and this fan base as well. So not necessarily calling everyone out or anything like that, but it certainly has not been as good as it certainly could be. And then yeah, to your point as well. I mean the pitching staff like this Georgia team jumped all over it. So I certainly get how it was hard, to get back into the game and stuff like that. And then obviously when they're up by that much, I certainly don't blame anybody for leaving. And yes, you want to stay in your seat as long as you can. But the way that game was going, man, I don't blame anyone for leaving that one. And sure they did kind of come back. And Alex is winning against Tennessee won't get me back. Yeah, I know. It feels like we've been back and forth with this team all year. And Jason, we'll get to some football predictions here in a second because yeah, it's the off season. I did want to touch there was a basketball recruit on campus this weekend. That's worth talking about as well. But yeah, it's winning against Tennessee will be quite interesting for the sake of it because again they're controlling their own destiny. Do they want to host a regional or not? And if they beat Tennessee, they will. Oh no worries, Jason. We'll get to it. No worries. I just wanted to make sure I was doing my mental check because obviously it's just me here tonight. No guests this week, and appreciate everyone tuning in. But yeah, no. So it'll be interesting with Tennessee because if they could beat Tennessee, right? Are they back? Are they not back? Like because it's been the same thing every year. I think even if they beat Tennessee, I think you'd need a sweep to win some people back. But even then, I mean, the numbers haven't been as good this year. Pitching staff hasn't been as good this year. I just don't think it's all there for this team at the moment, and it's just going to continue, right? And you can't let it continue. I mean, you have to flush that sweep. And I mean, like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This team listens, right? Like they whenever people start to doubt them, they decide to turn it on, right, and flip the switch. So, I mean, it's been the light switch has been flipped on and off, and the momentum's been going up and down like crazy these last couple of weeks. So, I can't imagine how it feels inside that locker room right now because I'm not in the locker room right now. But I can imagine it doesn't feel too great, and you're tired of people like me and everyone else and everyone else that follows your program saying that you're not very good, right? So I think this team is certainly they have to find a way turn something around because they don't want to be remembered as just another washed away team in this regime and something like that. Like you have the potential to be special, right? You have the chance to do it. You've got pitching, right? You've got. I mean, obviously it's more of a bullpen effort than anything with the way that these starters are playing, and the starters got to step it up as well. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see how things go down there up there at Tennessee. But just so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But so yeah, men's basketball, real quick, just some news. My colleague Wes Mitchell, we had him on the show last weekend, by the way. less for that. And Mike, you may have incited a 40, which thanks, Mike. I will be now. I have to, talk up what, or now I have to talk myself up into beating Wes Mitchell in a 40-yard dash. So no, thank you. Yes, power three former 20 class of 2024 three-star power forward Jamie Vincent, former Vandy signee, will visit South Carolina this week. Okay, so yes, he will be on campus this week. As we know, South Carolina has one more scholarship available, as Trent Noah declined his or got released from his letter of intent from South Carolina. So it'll be interesting. I think Jamie Vincent, reading up on him a little bit here or there, I think it's obviously hopeful when you can get a guy that can play and to fill that spot, that extra scholarship spot that you had because Trent Noah was not available. But it'll be interesting to see how Lamont continues to go about that and attack that as well. So that's the basketball news, and then we covered baseball. If you guys have any more baseball questions, hit them, because again, we're just streaming here tonight. But Jason, how do you think we are going to do in the 2024 football season? To be honest, like right now, we're so far out. Do I have any idea? Absolutely not. But we're going to play this game. We're going to play this game tonight. Realistically, and like these are all hypotheticals and everything. Like, why not? Like, it's the offseason, so we'll look at some things that they could have success in, find success in, and then also things that I think are going to, kind of derail the season. I'm not going to give a full prediction yet. We're going to wait. We have longer in the summer, but I will some things that we'll have success on, and some negatives, some areas that I think South Carolina will run into. If that's cool, and I mean, if people want to chime in too, let me know if there's anything else. But no, I mean, I think quarterback play, as we know, should be pretty good. But again, I think there will be growing pains with that. If Lenore Sellers is able to get just into this offense, play consistent, I think people are going to be awfully impressed. I think a weak spot for this team is going to be the offensive line. I think, and I've got some guests coming in, coming up here this summer, that can talk about the offensive line, talk about the defensive line. Should be a pretty fun one. So stay tuned for that. Again, I've got some good guests coming, but it'll be interesting to see where they shake out. I think the strong point of one of the stronger points of the 2024 football season is going to be the defense. I think the linebackers are really, 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 really good. Williams says, will we beat Missouri, Joe? If this is for football next season, yes. But this is a prediction on May 12th here, William. A May 12th prediction for you. Will we beat Missouri next year? Yes. I'm going to say yes. And I don't think I'm going to change from that either. I know Missouri's dangerous. Luther Burden's coming back. The kid's ridiculous. I think Luther Burden's coming back. That kid's ridiculous. That wide receiver. Kid from East St. Louis. I've watched his tape. I remember when he committed. It's the kid's sick. So it's going to be a tough one in Missouri. Luckily, I think we get Missouri here, if I'm not mistaken. So we were at Missouri last season. I think having it at Williams-Brice is a lot better. But Missouri is going to be one of the harder teams you play this year, which is crazy to say. Absolutely crazy to say. But again, I think shout out to my uncle Tylo too, Missouri grad. But shout out to Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, because he's a darn good coach, man. Who in their right mind thought anybody was going to be able to make the whole Missouri thing work, right? Like anybody in their right mind was expecting Missouri football to be Vandy 2.0 for 10, 15 years. But here we are, sitting here in May, talking about the hypotheticals of football, right? As we should be, of course. What else would we be doing? But we're sitting here in May talking about football hypotheticals, and I'm saying Missouri's going to be one of the tougher games on your schedule. It's ridiculous. Did I fully expect to be sitting here saying that, like at all, just in general? Like, no. Missouri usually stinks, and again, because of Eli Drinkwitz, he's developing talent. He's starting to make a name for them, and they were a powerhouse. Like, I mean, or I shouldn't say that. Stop. That was just rattling off, but they were good, right? They're starting to be good again, and they had a pretty darn good season last year too. Tyler Beatty was great out of the backfield. I believe that, yeah, was it Tyler Beatty? Or oh gosh, I can't remember the kid's name, but the D3 transfer was ridiculous. Might have been Tyler Beatty. But he killed us, right? But Jason says it seems as our O line is always a downfall for our offense. Yeah, I think there's still a couple more things they got to figure out with this O line, right? They've got a couple young bucks that look really, really good. So I think it's certainly a position that they're going to go out and attack in the transfer portal a little bit as well. But it should be interesting to see which way they attack the portal. But I think offensive line, they're almost there, right? I think they have guys in the room. They got to find the dogs, right? They got to find the dogs, find which 5 guys are going to be good enough to play in the SEC and stop a Georgia or a Missouri or a Tennessee. Because Tennessee still has that nasty, nasty defensive line. Like Tennessee, you're going to be, running for your life. And I got to check the football schedule again because my memory. We do play Tennessee, I believe, still. 2024. What's up? Alabama. No, we don't play Tennessee next year. Yeah, that's right. We don't. They don't have to play Tennessee next year. Yeah. But I mean, right? I think the offensive line needs to be good enough to stop just a really, really good defensive pass rush. So, but that's that. Yeah. And then anything else you guys have for me? I'm gonna hit some ads real quick. If there's anything else you guys want me to hit, let me know. But pretty sure we're gonna keep it a little short tonight. As it's the off season. Not a whole lot. We're gonna save some hypotheticals for next week. I'll also have some guests too joining us, give us some stuff to talk about. But we'll definitely have some fun games so we can run through this summer. On 3 said Sellers has Heisman potential. Yes, he does. I wouldn't deny that. But again, I'll get into that after I hit these ads real quick. First off, our good friends over at Liberty Tax. Let me pull it up. Their banner. Our good friends over Liberty Tax. Tax ID is that uncertain feeling you get right before doing your taxes, but you don't have to go through alone. The tax team at Liberty Tax in Irmo, Lexington, and Columbia will walk you through the process, clear up any confusion, and guarantee you'll get the biggest possible refund or your money back. It's tax time if you're in a hurry for a refund. Call the tax team at Liberty Tax. They're fast, accurate, and guaranteed. On the other hand, if you think you might be on Uncle Sam, talk to the Liberty Tax team to make sure you're not paying more than you should owe. They'll find every possible deduction for you. Locally owned and operated, staffed by tax professionals from your neighborhood, open 9 to 9 on weekdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays with multiple service options. Start through the Liberty Tax mobile app or through the desktop portal. Make an appointment or just walk in, give a call to upload your tax documents. And when you come in, your return will be ready to review and sign. Give them a call on your screen right now. And for those listening, 803-462-5576. Once again, 803-462-5576 for all of your tax needs this tax season. And this show is also brought to you by our good friend Clint Hammond. He's above us on all of our Gamecock Central live programming. He's the man, the myth, the legend. In need of help with your mortgage, give our guy Clint a call of the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy. It comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Perry Worth with their mortgages. So give her a call. He's above us, 803-771-6933. Once again, 803-771-6933 for all of your mortgage needs. But yeah, so real quickly before we wrap things up, we can talk about this. Yeah. Do I think Lenore Sellers can win the Heisman? I think it's certainly in him. What does he have to do to win the Heisman? Well, he's got to beat out guys like Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, anybody, and the quarterback who's on the best team right now. It's you have to do is he capable athletically? Like, yeah. Like, I think, if you were in the right system and everything like that, now you have to make it work. You have to win games. If there's a lot more outside of Lenore Sellers' control to win the Heisman. I mean, Spencer Rattler was talented enough to win the Heisman. He just did not have the right season, right? team around him didn't follow suit. But based on talent alone, yeah, I think there's Heisman potential. Absolutely, certainly. Spencer Rattler could have won the Heisman. I think there was that much talent there. And now, granted, his freshman year at Oklahoma, he didn't. But again, I think it was he certainly had the talent if he were in the right situation. But I think it's very similar with Lenore's. There's a couple things that are out of his control. A lot of it is in his control because he's the leader of this football team, right? He's quarterback. Duh. So it's interesting. But so I think there is Heisman potential. What do I think about the new SEC divisions? I mean, I don't mind. I think have they dropped new divisions? If they have, then I'm going to close it and not necessarily speak on this whole thing yet. But I can't remember. I know like the new schedule is. I love the new schedule, like the way that they're doing it. With the scheduling, and I know they might have dropped. I've seen hypothetical like pods and stuff like that, but and yeah, Jason, the QB is only as good as his O line, and the rest of his support staff. It's team game, right? So the Heisman's won by it's obviously it's given into an individual, but it certainly won with the team. Alex's O line scares me. If they play big, we might make some noise. Yeah, and I think there's a couple kids that they think that can play big. Josiah Thompson's one of them. Watch out, the kid's going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. So watch out. Again, we'll talk about more of this, obviously more next week, and I'll bring some stuff, some off-season games, some hypotheticals, some I don't know, just fun off-season stuff, rank some stadiums, do all that fun stuff as is the off-season. And hopefully Gamecock baseball gives us more to talk about. Because right now it's not so fun. Not so fun to talk about Gamecock baseball right now after getting swept by Georgia. So we'll see. But again, appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. And we will see you next week. And then so this week we've got Talking Tuesdays. We'll have foul balls, the whole 9 yards, all of it on GamecockCentral.com. If you missed any of our show, any of my show tonight, you can always check it out on the Gamecock Central YouTube page, just under the live tab. And then if you missed us, you can also hit the notifications button next to the subscription box on Gamecock Central's YouTube page. So if you missed it, check it out on YouTube. Appreciate everyone tuning in again, and have a great night.